Hey, everybody, it's the Cannabis News. I'm Rick Thompson. It's January 2nd, 2018. And in honor of the new year, why don't we look at some of the great opportunities and perhaps pitfalls 2018 could offer the medical marijuana community on a national basis. I'm stealing most of this information from Marijuana Business Daily, an article called A Look Ahead Challenges Opportunities for Marijuana Professionals in the New Year. One of the big things in 2018 will be California. It's already the world's largest marijuana market, but California's conversion from a 2 decades old medical cannabis gray market to a fully regulated marijuana industry isn't going to be easy. Some companies will have to make big changes to the way they've been doing business for years. Others will find themselves suddenly in the black market or out of business entirely. Marijuana activists have argued for decades that California will tip the scales of national drug policy, and 2018 could reveal if that's true, and that entire same thing could be said about the state of Michigan. Another giant entering the regulated adult use marijuana market in 2018 will be Canada. That's right, Canada, our neighbor to the north. The nation is well on its way to becoming the first group of 7 nations to legalize adult use marijuana. Regulations related to marijuana will dominate Canadian national discussion in the first half of 2018, when every province and territory is expected to finalize cannabis production and sales rules. Now, those sales could start before the first leaves fall in September, and marijuana entrepreneurs around the world are scrambling to capitalize on Canada's legalization, and that will likely continue well into 2019 and beyond. Here's another thing, talking about the evolution of cannabis and its acceptance. Alcohol joins the party. Marijuana's age-old rival, alcohol, is starting to see opportunity instead of threat in the cannabis industry. In the new year, could alcohol companies whether to step up investments? One of the biggest boozers in the world, Constellation Brands, well, they just purchased a significant stake in Canopy Growth. Canopy Growth is an Ontario-based company. They'll enter the recreational cannabis industry when Canada begins sales. U.S. beer makers are going to expand their experiments with cannabis. How's this? Adding terpenes to supercritical IPA is La Guintas Brewing in California. Other makers are expected to follow suit. Wine producers are adding tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, not just the non-intoxicating cannabinoids like those beer pussies are. Rebel Coast Winery of Sonoma, California has launched the world's first alcohol-removed cannabis-infused wine. Oh, yeah. Rebel Coast plans to introduce CBD-infused wines in 2018. Expect a ton of attention on these canna alcohol products in 2018. Influential market data analyst Global Data warned alcohol makers in November legalization of recreational marijuana presents a threat, as drinkers may swap alcohol for cannabis. Why not? You don't have a hangover and you don't crash your car. Now, it'll be hard to surpass the magnitude of legalization in 2016 with so many states adopting rec legislation. But 2018 will be a historic year, too, not just because of the number of states or market size involved, but because of how legalization comes about. Action through state legislatures, which we don't see. New Jersey, Vermont, and Rhode Island are all candidates for the historic honor of being the first to legalize cannabis through action of your state legislature. New Jersey lawmakers already have a bill to work with from last session, while incoming Governor Phil Murphy campaigned partly on the promise to legalize cannabis. Vermont Governor Phil Scott vetoed a rec bill last year. Dick said in December he's comfortable with signing a more limited rec bill into law that will permit possession and home grow, and that may happen as early as January. Dark horse status goes to Rhode Island. There's strong legislative support for legalization, but the governor has been far more reluctant to support recreational. Pressure from the looming rec market in neighboring Massachusetts could make the difference there. Now, voters always seem to be a step ahead of the politicians when it comes to cannabis. So although having legislators do it is a nice change, the old-fashioned way, petition drives, that's how it's been done mostly. Even if legislators start approving rec marijuana laws in 2018, several more states are still going to pass medical or recreational laws through the petitioning process. Ohio might try it again. Michigan will definitely do it this year. Voters in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Utah also could look at medical marijuana. Now, I happen to know that North Dakota has an active movement too, and a petition drive for legalization there too. Now, when we start talking about some of the legalization schemes, what we're really talking about here are dollars. And how about $250 million? MedMen is a Los Angeles-based investment firm, one of the best-known names in the cannabis industry. They have a push to raise what may be the largest capital investment securing in U.S. cannabis industry history. Now, San Francisco-based Poseidon also trying to raise $150 million. Now, that's $400 million out of two really well-known companies, and they might do it too. Marijuana observers will also be watching to see if the canna-centric finance firms can land some institutional capital, the big money guys that have been hesitant to jump in to support cannabis businesses before. 2018 could be big too because of Congress. Don't forget about Congress. That growth in 2018 could be due to maybe another historic first. There could be a bipartisan bill to repeal 280E tax restrictions for legal MJ businesses. That might make it to Trump's desk. There might even be some other legislative measure that would further legitimize the U.S. marijuana sector. Now, there have been dozens of pro-marijuana bills introduced in Congress, but none of them even gotten a full congressional committee hearing. But with more and more Republicans coming on board to support different cannabis bills, such a victory isn't nearly as pie in the sky as it was a few years ago. Now, partisan gridlock in D.C. is legendary, but the industry can't ignore what's going on in Capitol Hill. Neither can the banking industry, which is looking for the federal government to make some changes to ease their ways. However, in the meantime, a Colorado-based credit union for the marijuana industry is going to try again to revolutionize banking for the cannabis industry. Now, currently, there's a Colorado credit union serving the marijuana industry in 6 states. They plan to expand to 20 in 2018. That's Partner Colorado Credit Union Safe Harbor Private Banking Program. But another group, Fourth Corner Credit Union, is trying a new strategy. Instead of serving businesses that touch the plant, serve marijuana advocacy groups. Great idea. Fourth Corner will find out in the new year if their plan works. Here's how they're doing it in Hawaii. The private banking program is getting a big test there where regulators have banned cash transactions. They force customers to use the credit union's Can Pay app in order to buy marijuana. If that's successful in Hawaii, more states might ban cash transactions until federal authorities get off their ass and ease cannabis banking restrictions. But even independent of that, there's another opportunity in 2018 for social use lounges. When social consumption lounges are expected to make their first appearances in 2018, Denver might see one by 2018, and Vegas could be next. Now, the opening of these first licensed and registered social use lounges could trigger an explosion of more of this business style. Many states and jurisdictions say they're interested, but they're waiting for other people to do it first before they start their own regulations for social lounges. Maybe by 2019, cannabis clubs could be an entire new business category in multiple states. Now, CBD, cannabidiol, has always been a favorite topic of marijuana advocates. We talk about its medicinal qualities and how it doesn't deserve to be lumped in with THC on Schedule I. Other people think that might be right, too. The CBD market's going to change dramatically in 2018. A lawsuit to be settled in a federal appeals court will determine whether CBD is a controlled substance even at all. Now, it could just be legal as long as it's derived from hemp. The U.S. DEA, of course, opposes that. Any decision by this court could vault CBD products into the mainstream, or a negative result could limit market opportunities to states where marijuana is only legal. Another CBD question to be settled in 2018 is in Canada. Canada's planning to authorize CBD hemp extraction along with adult use marijuana, and that change could have global repercussions. Canada is believed to be the world's #2 hemp producer, and some predict a flood of cheap Canadian hemp-derived CBD products will affect global CBD market prices. And finally, if we look at internationally, the global marijuana industry will be keeping a close watch on two different health agencies in 2018, UN World Health Organization and the U.S. FDA. The World Health Organization called a May summit, May 2018, to review cannabis and how it's regulated. Now, this agency doesn't make any laws, but its conclusions heavily influence drug policy among its member nations, over 60 of those. The agency's upcoming review of cannabis extracts and tinctures could trigger revisions to the 1961 UN Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, which the United States forced everybody to sign. Any revisions could dramatically shake up the global cannabis market. But, there's another cannabis industry shaking health decision for the U.S. coming from the FDA. The agency is due to issue a decision on GW Pharma's Epidiolex, which is a cannabis-derived drug trying to treat two rare kinds of epilepsy. The FDA's decision could have ramifications for all marijuana users because, if approved, cannabis would be the first plant-derived cannabidiol approved by the agency, poking the biggest hole yet in the U.S. position that the cannabis plant has no medical use, which is the only reason why it is on Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances list. And that is an extremely long session of the cannabis news for January 2nd, 2018. I'm Rick Thompson. Thanks for listening. There's Cannabis Cafe.